When the first glimmer of silver was seen beneath the murky waters of the Dead Sea, the scientists monitoring the region froze in disbelief. For centuries, the Dead Sea had been known as a symbol of death and desolation, its salty waters so dense that not a single fish, plant, or microorganism could survive. It was a place where life ended, not where it began. Yet that morning, as the sun broke over the horizon and its golden light rippled across the still surface, a young researcher named Lior noticed movement in one of the nearby sinkholes, something flickering beneath the surface. At first, he assumed it was a reflection or perhaps a drifting mineral crystal, but when he leaned closer, he saw them, small, silver fish darting between the rocks. Heart racing, he called for his team, and soon the once quiet desert echoed with shouts of astonishment. Cameras were lowered, samples taken, and the footage sent instantly across the world. Within hours, news outlets picked up the story, life found in the Dead Sea. Scientists rushed to explain it. Perhaps fresh groundwater from the mountains had created small pockets of survivable conditions, allowing these creatures to live. But deep within the hearts of those who had grown up reading the scriptures, a different realization began to take root. They remembered the words of the prophet Ezekiel, who saw a vision of this very place transforming, waters flowing from the temple in Jerusalem, bringing healing to the land, until even the Dead Sea itself would teem with life. To them, this was not just a biological mystery, it was a sign. Something ancient was stirring again in the Holy Land, something foretold long before modern science existed. As pilgrims began arriving from across the world, they gathered by the shores, praying, weeping, and whispering in awe, "The word is coming alive before our eyes." The weeks that followed, the region surrounding the Dead Sea transformed into a place of wonder and unease. Scientists from universities across the globe arrived with their instruments, measuring salinity levels, tracking underground water movements, and documenting the miraculous pockets of life. The freshwater springs bubbling up from beneath the crust had begun forming tiny lagoons along the southern shores, lagoons filled not just with fish, but with green algae, reeds, and even tiny crustaceans. For the first time in recorded history, the Dead Sea was no longer dead. Yet amid the excitement of discovery, a quiet tension spread, because with every new sign of life, another ancient prophecy seemed to awaken. Local shepherds spoke of seeing flocks of storks and doves gathering by the water's edge, birds that had never landed here before. Travelers reported strange lights appearing over the desert at night, and the nearby mountains, once barren, began to show faint traces of vegetation. Religious scholars opened their Bibles and read the passages again and again, their voices trembling. The waters will flow toward the eastern region and go down into the Arabah, where they enter the Dead Sea. When they enter, the water there becomes fresh, and every living creature that moves will live wherever the river flows. The prophecy was happening word for word. News stations called it coincidence. Scientists called it evolution, but many couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was unfolding, a shift in the spiritual heartbeat of the earth. Tourists began leaving messages carved into salt stones. The end is near. The promise lives. Priests held prayer vigils by the water, while journalists streamed the moment live, millions watching as a fisherman pulled a small, glimmering fish from the once toxic sea. The crowd erupted in awe and tears. And in that moment, as the sun sank behind the Judean hills and the waters shimmered with life, even the most skeptical observer felt it. The impossible had become possible. The ancient words had come to pass. And somewhere, in the unseen depths of prophecy, the clock of destiny had begun to tick once again.